Star Trek Picard. Star Trek Picard. You had me, then you lost me. Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 4, Watcher. This video is part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Star Trek Picard, so I'll have to start with a spoiler warning for Picard up to Season 2, Episode 4. If you have not seen up to this point, you will not want to watch this video, otherwise some things will be spoiled for you. Okay, so I did not like this episode at all. And let me start with the thing that bothered me the most about this episode. So Star Trek Picard has been very self-referential towards Star Trek. It's like, hey, look at this. Hey, we know Star Trek. Hey, this is Gul Dukat and this is Martok. Remember those? And we're going to name drop Benjamin Sisko, or at least Colonel Sisko, in this alternate universe. And hey, here's the Sanctuary District, because this is the same year that Past Tense takes place in Deep Space Nine. And we're going to have Q name drop just episode titles. Just shout out yesterday's Enterprise in the Mirror Darkly. We're gonna freaking have they did another freaking huge reference to Star Trek 4. Hey, remember Star Trek 4 The Voyage Home? And I'll get to that later. But so this is acknowledging all these past episodes of what Star Trek to be like, hey guys, remember Star Trek? We're Star Trek 2 and we remember it. And so we're bringing this all to you. And yet they seem to have forgot that the two-parter Times Arrow fucking exists! And it drives me crazy! So, we get Guinan in this episode, and she's played by a different actress, and she appears, and much younger. Now, I don't mind that Guinan appears, not at all. That's cool that we see Guinan in this time period, and I don't mind that she's recast by a younger actress. I think that makes total sense. If they tried to do that de-aging thing, that for a long dialogue scene like this, it wouldn't work. I think they wouldn't, and I like the actress that they got to play her, so that's all good. But okay, so when she first appeared, when Picard came up and was like, oh, Guinan, and went to Avenue Forward 10, that's stupid, or whatever. So he goes up to her, and this is what I expected. Oh, it's you. That's what I expected her to say. I didn't expect her to fucking pull a gun. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe she doesn't recognize him. It has been several hundred years. Right? And they only met very briefly in Times Arrow. If you're not a big Star Trek nerd like I am, you don't know what I'm talking about. There's a two-parter called Times Arrow that was the 5th season finale and the 6th season premiere of Star Trek Next Generation, wherein Picard traveled back to the 19th century and met up with Guinan, who was, chatting around with Mark Twain. Oh, my dear Guinan. Oh, that's it. Now I remember. Anyway, so she made friends with Data, and they were going on these adventures together, and then she meets Picard, and she's like, do I know you? And Picard's like, oh, no. And she's like, well, do you know me? He's like, oh, very well. And then they were hitting it off, and then in the present day, the 24th century, Guinan was saying that, talking about how, oh, do you remember when we met for the first time? No, be sure. And then she was saying, oh, I know that everything's going to happen. Like, she remembered very, very clearly everything that happened in that 19th century thing. But okay, here's the thing. Alright, and that's much later. This is much earlier in the time period. Why would she not remember? Maybe, at first I was like, okay, maybe she just doesn't recognize him instantly. It was going to take her a little bit, and she's going to be like, oh yeah, that's right, you're Picard. But never happened. Now, towards the end, she is like, says something when he says his name finally is Picard. She's like, oh, okay, fine, I'll help you. But I don't think that's a reference to time error. I think that has more to do with the Watcher and the reveal of who the Watcher is, which I'll get to that. So that's what I think they were referencing. I think that the showrunners just forgot after name dropping all this bullshit and doing these shameless fucking plugs to all this other Star Trek stuff. Golden Cut, Golden Cut. And yet here, they don't remember that this fucking two-parter exists. But more than that, that is not what bothers me the most about this scene. What bothers me the most about this scene is that, as I said, I don't mind the recast of Guinan. I don't mind the actress. I mind the writing and the way she's portrayed. This is not fucking Guinan. It's not. Period. End of sentence. Not Guinan. It's done for a bit of plot contrivance to create more tension, to have like the fact, that she's really angry and pissed off and like, oh, they're closing down my bar, I'm fucking getting out of here, I'm sick of this planet, they're destroying themselves. In no way, shape, or form is that Guinan. None. Now, I know the naysayers and excuses, people who love to make excuses for the writing's going to be like, oh, hey, Mark, what? Maybe, in the 19th century she was all cheerful, but then after 200 years of living on Earth, she got all pissy, and then another 300 years she changed her mind again, and she's just going through a slump in the period. Bullshit. I would not believe that in a billion trillion years, because she had the same demeanor in the 19th century as she does in the 21st century. Yes, she can get upset. We've seen that in Q Who, that she's really pissed off at Q. She's really pissed off at the Borg. We see that in iBorg nicely. So she can have a darker side, but it's not like this. This is not what it's like. Overall, she tends to look at the brighter thing, which is made very clear in her debates with Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens, and it's like, oh, I see that you think that thing, she was portrayed as the really optimistic one, where he was the cynical one, mind you, and she was at that point in time was in the era where slavery had just very recently ended, and that racism was a lot more common and rampant, and yet she still had this very optimistic view of humanity. And now we're meant to believe that now all of a sudden that she's really pissy and just pissed off and hate everything. No, here's what it is, and this is what I'm saying, why Picard is losing me. Because what I liked about the first episode of Picard is it had felt more like Star Trek. It had a more hopeful, optimistic look. Now, I've heard other people complain about the newer Trek shows, particularly Discovery and Picard, saying that they always have to be dark and gritty, which I don't really think is true of Discovery anymore. Now, Discovery is like really wishy-washy and touchy-feely. It was definitely true of Discovery at first. But it is true of Picard. I was hoping that it wasn't in these first couple of episodes, but they have now, they've slowly started defaulting back to that. All the as I mentioned in the previous episode review, Raffi's character, she was this, much better and different at the start. But after Elnor dies, boom, she's interestingly gritty, dark, and depressed, and upset and bitchy all the time. Again. Because that creates more tension, and then they have to have this dark thing between Durrani and the Borg Queen. Oh no! And they have to have Rios exploring the dark side of ice. Now, I'm going to intertwine my storylines a little bit here just to compare them and contrast, because I actually really like the commentary that they make on ICE and immigration and just how inhuman immigration treats immigrants and how it's just really disposed of, and they just have limitless power to erase people and send them back to Mexico without any trials. This is a huge issue that I've had researched a bit, and I think is very accurately portrayed, and I think the commentary is very spot on. Contrast that to the commentary they're making with Guinan and her, like, oh, they're destroying the earth, and oh, they don't know what to do anything, and oh, you know, I have a harder issue because I look like me and you look like you, and this is a bad way to do social commentary. Now, Star Trek has always been preachy. I've watched this review where they tried to say, oh, Star Trek allegory, and they show examples like, what's that episode that sucked? The one with, where, Riker falls in love with a non-gendered individual who identifies as female. What the hell is that episode called again? I know everyone's going to shout in the comment section. I'm just brain farting at the moment. I know what it is. The Outcast. There we go. The Outcast. And they were pointing, oh, look, that's an allegory. Star Trek does allegory. But no, I'm sorry, but Star Trek beats the fucking head with their preachy things all the time. Will let that be your last battlefield is a prime example. Oh, hey guys, it's about racism. Like you could never figure that out. Or past tense was, hey, homelessness is bad, and like they beat you over the head with the message. So that reviewer is just full of it. I'm sorry to say, Star Trek actually doesn't tend to do allegory. They tend to like be very preachy and right in your face about what their message is. So I don't mind that aspect of it. I just think they did a terrible job at it this time with in regards to the Guinan character. Like the ice thing I think is spot on, but the Guinan stuff I think is it just really like, so in the right after the Civil War, pre-civil rights movements, she had no issue with Earth, and she liked to look at the bright side of things. But in the 21st century, all of a sudden, she's fed up with them and fuck them all, and they're idiots, and they're terrible, and they're just monsters who are killing each other in the planet. Bullshit. I'm sorry, but bullshit. And but she's worn down after living on Earth for 200 years, and then another 200 years she's back to her normal self. Bullshit. Don't fucking tell me that. It's contrivance. It's plot contrivance so that they can be gritty again. They default to, because gritty is better. They're in this fucking mindset. They can't have a normal fucking Guinan character. They have to have our being angsty and gritty and pointing gun at Picard and being and use the whole cliche of I don't want to help you, having the reluctant. So I don't care if the timeline's gonna be changed in 3 days. I'm out of here. Like, this is not Guinan. It is not. Plain and fucking simple. So, this whole storyline pissed me the hell off. Now, let's get into some other stuff. So, the Watcher turns out to be some weird version of Varys, whatever her name is. You know, I was talking in the comment section theories of who the Watcher could be. I thought, what if it was cool if it was like the Traveler, or Wesley Crusher as a Traveler, or something like that. But I didn't really think they would do that. That's just pie in the sky. Yeah, it's not like, they didn't do my theory, so I hate it. Bullshit. You know, that's the kind of bullshit excuse people come up with to try to excuse bad writing, because it had nothing to do with that. Because I never thought that would be the case. It's just fun to be like silly from time to time. What I really thought they would do was, what they would actually do is making a new character. They've introduced some new character type thing, and perhaps that's what this is. And they're just using Varys to do it. And if so, whatever, that's fine. But I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed with... I mean, maybe this will be some shape-shifting... Maybe it could be the Traveler and Varys. No, but it's not. But it could be someone else who's taking on Varys' form, or whatever, kind of like, the way the prophets, the wormhole aliens, would take on the forms of people Sisko knew in order to relate to him. But I don't know. I kind of think that it is Varys. or whatever her name is, and because they were kind of hinting at her all season, and they even showed in the previous on his romance thing, and I don't know, I'm just so disinterested in it, and I guess I was so off put by the Guinan thing, and then okay, so. Then we get like at the start of the episode they do the whole voyage home thing. I'm sorry, I thought that was dumb. Like I don't know. I just thought it was dumb. Like as soon as they went and I recognized the song right away. It was the same song, and then they had the actor who looked kind of old. I was like, I bet you that's the same actor, and I looked it up, and it is. It's the same actor who played the punk. Why does he have couldn't they at least update it for modern times? He has like the '80s boom box. And in 2024, I suppose maybe there's some hipsters that might have retro technology like that, but punk, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could excuse it, but it just seems really off to me. I suppose it wouldn't have been the same if he had like an iPhone or whatever that was blasting that, but that would be more period appropriate, and at least they could update it that way. But I guess I'm just nitpicking. But the whole point, and I guess like we're meant to believe this is the same character because that's why this time when someone said, "Can you turn it down?" He's like, "Okay, I'm sorry," like because he didn't want to get he fucking nerve pinched again. So I guess it was kind of funny, but at the same time, like, this is a bit of a cheap call out to, hey, remember Star Trek 4? I thought it was dumb. I'm sorry. But not the worst thing this episode's done, not by a long shot. So, and then we get this car chase scene. Going in a car, chasing the sorry, I kind of fell asleep because this is kind of just a cliche car chase that doesn't really, what's going to happen. You know that Girardi's going to fix the transporter and beam them to the place anyway, so the whole car chase thing is just a fucking waste of time. And the fact that 709 could drive a car that well, I'm sorry, I'm being very cynical, but yeah, I didn't care. Like the Rio stuff, we didn't get that much in this episode, but I like it. I like his storyline. I'm with it. I'm with the social commentary. I'm with the suspense that he's going to be out of reach and they need to find her. But let's just waste some bullshit time with them driving around a cop car in L.A. Anywho, and then we get more Girardi and Borg Queen Battle of Wits or whatever, which I don't care about either. I'm sorry. Although I have heard a theory that that Borg Queen we saw with the hood thingy majogger in the first episode was Girardi, and this is if it did do that, I think that would definitely justify this bullshit. But I still don't like the Borg Queen. I'm sorry. She still annoys the fuck out of me. I think this Borg Queen is just as bad as the Voyager and fucking First Contact one. The whole concept of the Borg Queen, I'm just totally not with. In the way she's like, oh, blah, 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 and Girardi tricks her into, fixing the transporters by saying she'll give her company, and as soon as she does it, she's like, fuck you, and walks off. Like, but Girardi, now the Borg Queen won't help you again. Ooh, isn't she a cold-hearted bee by leaving her like that? I'm like, no, she's just stupid. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I'm not really with this. But if that theory does turn out to be true, then maybe I'll look at it more positively. Maybe we'll justify it in some sense. And then there was a scene at the start of the episode with Girardi and Picard at the Chateau Picard, whatever. They try to slip in the whole. Oh, the Picards moved to England for a while. See, that's why we sound English rather than French. whatever. I don't think that's the most egregious thing this episode done, especially after this Guinan bullshit. So anyway, my review for Watcher out of 10 is a 4 poor. Not a good episode. Sorry, did not like it. I think the Guinan stuff completely ruined it, and nothing else about it really saved it for me. So I talked in the previous things how much I loved the first episode, kind of like the second episode, and then third episode was starting to worry, and now I'm sort of confirmed that yes, my fears that Picard would not be able to keep up his quality and that it would default to being shitty or at the very least mixed bag, they've been totally justified by this episode. Anyway, that's it for my review of Season 2, Episode 4 of Picard. I shall be back next week to hopefully it will start to go up and down and not just suck the whole entire time, but we'll see. And I also cover, of course, many other Star Trek videos on my channel, as well as covering other shows such as The Expanse, Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that, and thanks so much for watching.